So, you're thinking about moving to Bellevue, Washington, but before you do, you want to find out everything you can about the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, the ups and the downs about living in Bellevue? Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover in today's video. It's no secret, Bellevue is one of the highest rated, most desirable suburbs in the entire Seattle area that you could choose to call home. There's a whole lot of good that comes with living in Bellevue. But there's also some negatives or some cons that definitely come along with that as well. And that's what I want to talk about today. We're going to cover the top 4 pros, but more importantly, we're going to cover the top 5 cons. Because some of these cons, they could potentially be deal breaking for you and what area, what city you decide to eventually move to. Now, make sure you stick around till later in the video. The last con that we're going to cover is one that I don't hear anybody talking about ever. So make sure you stick around and check that one out. So if you're ready to get after it, let's get into it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything about living, working, eating, playing in the city of Seattle, Washington, and surrounding areas like Bellevue, then subscribe down below, tap that bell for notifications so you could be the first to learn about the current market here in Seattle. My name is David Sappenfield. The team and I, we get calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you looking for help to make their move here to Seattle, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're making your move next week or next year, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or schedule a Zoom call. All of our contact information is in the description down below. We're happy to help you make that smooth move to Seattle. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to be discussing the top pros and the top cons of living in Bellevue, Washington. So let's jump into the list right now and get going. Now, the number 1 pro of living in Bellevue, Washington has got to be just the cleanliness of the city. And when I'm talking about cleanliness and what part of the city, I'm specifically talking about like the downtown area of Bellevue. When you're walking or driving around, there's just no evidence of garbage on the sidewalks, piling up in the streets, anything like that. You can tell that Bellevue just takes a lot of pride in keeping their streets super clean. Same with the parks in the downtown area, and basically all of the parks in Bellevue for that matter. They're just really well kept. You just don't see a lot of garbage anywhere, which is fantastic. We've had some friends come into town from the East Coast not too long ago, and as we were driving around, one of the things that they mentioned a couple different times was just the cleanliness of the streets around here, and that it felt so clean, and they were just blown away because it's not like that for them on the East Coast where they're coming from. So Bellevue's fantastic. You don't see a whole lot of any panhandling. You see a little bit of it, but not much. No homeless encampments or anything like that. It's not as prevalent as what you would see over in Seattle. So just a very clean and just safe feeling part of town, and that's got to be the number 1 pro for me about living in Bellevue, Washington. All right, pro number 2 has got to be Bellevue's proximity to other cities. Now, Bellevue has most everything that you're ever going to need. You shouldn't have to venture out too far from Bellevue to get the necessary everyday items and, restaurants and entertainment that, most people are looking for. But, it is in a very central location within the Puget Sound region. So Bellevue is about 15-20 minutes east of Seattle. You just jump across one of the bridges. You can get there very quickly. So that's really, really convenient to get in and out of downtown Seattle. But we're also located really close to Kirkland. You have, the downtown waterfront scene there in Kirkland. You can get there in, probably 10 or 15 minutes, depending on traffic. Then you also have Redmond. Maybe you work in Redmond, one of the, technology centers up there, Microsoft, Nintendo, AT&T. That's really close, so that's very convenient. You can get into Redmond in 10, 15, 20 minutes depending on traffic as well. And then you're really close to Renton. So Renton is about 20 minutes south of Bellevue, but the downtown Renton area, there's a lot of shopping, a lot of entertainment, good restaurants, but yeah, that's all about 20 minutes away. And then Bellevue is located right on Interstate 90, which is kind of a quick shot over to Eastern Washington. You're right there, you kind of have that gateway over the Cascades into Eastern Washington. So yeah, just really convenient location, and a big reason why this is pro number 2 for living in Bellevue. Pro number 3, Bellevue's endless economic opportunities. Now, Bellevue is home to several large employers, which plays a major role in helping keep the unemployment rate really low, like one of the lowest in the nation. Just to name a handful of those employers, we have Microsoft. Yes, Microsoft main campus is in Redmond, but they do have office locations in Bellevue. There's also T-Mobile, we have Meta, we have the Bellevue School District, which is a major employer in Bellevue. We have Bellevue College, which is kind of a community college there in the Eastgate neighborhood. And then we have the Bellevue, the Overlake Medical Center in Bellevue there, right downtown across the freeway from downtown Bellevue. So lots of employment opportunity in the medical fields. And then Bellevue's also very business friendly towards new startup businesses. So, if maybe the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 isn't your thing and you're looking to start a new company, get a startup going, Bellevue is a fantastic location for that. And just one of the few reasons why number 3 on the pro list is the endless economic opportunities. Pro number 4. And, to me, this one actually could be pro number 1, but Bellevue just has an incredibly large amount of really awesome restaurants, from high-end fancy restaurants to takeout, just quick grab and go food. Bellevue has just some of the most diverse variety of foods and just great tasting foods at that, which puts Bellevue really at the top of the list as far as the food scene is concerned. Of the suburbs in Seattle, I'd say Bellevue probably is right there with the best of them. Great Thai restaurants, Japanese, sushi, Indian, just steakhouses. There's a handful of just excellent steakhouses right there in Bellevue. Some of my favorite restaurants, I'll just give you a quick list of ones that you should definitely write down that you should visit when you're in Bellevue. Starting with the Sea Star. It's a high-end restaurant and raw bar offering a huge selection of seafood and items from the land as well. A couple of their most popular dishes are their Dungeness crab cakes and diver scallops. El Gaucho, the iconic destination steakhouse of the East Side. El Gaucho was originally opened in 1953 with an exclusive focus on delivering impeccable service and exceptional quality. When at El Gaucho, be sure to start with their tableside Caesar salad. It's the best Caesar salad you'll ever have. You can't go wrong with the filet mignon prepared to your liking, and to top the night off with their famous bananas Foster. Monsoon, modern Vietnamese cuisine with Pacific Northwest innovation. Some of their most popular dishes include grilled pork belly, beau la latte, and catfish clay pot. Tavern Hall, located in Bellevue Square, is a local favorite hangout spot for locals for grabbing dinner or just meeting with their friends for happy hour. For starters, you can't go wrong with their nachos or fried pickles. If you're a fan of burgers, the Tavern Burger is one of the best around. I Love Sushi. Located on Lake Bellevue, this underrated spot has been serving fresh sushi and Japanese food since 1986. Ideal for date nights or just a quick dinner to satisfy your sushi craving. Some of their signature dishes include seared spicy salmon roll, king crab California roll, spicy tuna roll, and the sweet mango chili roll. Okay, so there's a short list of highly recommended restaurants that you should check out when you're in Bellevue. I think I gave you five there. You know, the favorite of those on that list to me is the Sea Star Restaurant and Raw Bar. You know, honestly, I don't even really like seafood, which is sort of blasphemous being born and raised from the Seattle area here for my whole life. And Sea Star is just has incredible food. You know, like I said, I don't even really like seafood, and I could eat there several times a week, no problem. But just a small, you know, example of all the great restaurant locations, the variety, the diversity. But that puts us on our fourth pro for living in Bellevue is just the incredible amount of awesome restaurants. All right, that wraps up our pros. Now let's shift gears and talk about the cons of living in Bellevue, which quite honestly is probably what you came to see. All right, so con number one is just the lack of new construction homes in and around Bellevue. Yes, there are some new construction. Usually they're just little one-off projects where a developer has purchased an older home, knocked it down, put up a new home, but you're not going to see a lot of newer home communities in Bellevue. Most of the homes you're going to see are in well-established neighborhoods, built in the 50s, 60s, 70s. You see a whole lot of like one-story homes, one-story with basement homes. Those are really popular in the Bellevue area. But that's, you know, probably the biggest con or negative that I get from buyers when consulting with them and talking about Bellevue. And you know, when they were hoping to get a newer home, Bellevue is just really hard to come by when it comes to the newer stuff. So if you're wanting new, you know, you might have to look a little bit further north in Kirkland. There's some spots in Redmond, of course, but Bellevue new construction is, you know, as you could imagine, super expensive and just tough to come by. So con number one is just the lack of newer housing in Bellevue. Okay, con number two is going to be the cost of living in Bellevue. You probably assumed that this one was going to be on the list, and here it is. You know, with the cost of housing in Bellevue, and not just Bellevue, you know, the surrounding areas, all of the east side, you know, the cost of housing and living is through the roof, but, you know, it's especially high in Bellevue. If we're talking about the median home value for a single family home in Bellevue, you're looking around 1.5, you know, maybe just a little bit north of that, 1.5 million. For condominiums, you're looking at a median value of around 525 to 535, somewhere in that range. So, you know, housing is just ridiculously expensive. It's older housing for the most part. Usually that's what you're going to get, which is what we talked about in the first con there. But yeah, it's just, you know, with the cost of everything else, it's just tough. With housing prices being expensive, cost of living on other things, you know, the grocery stores, you know, boy, I can't even get through the McDonald's drive-through with a family of four without spending $50, it seems. So, you know, you just throw on the high housing costs on top of everything else. It just makes Bellevue a little bit of a tougher place to live if you're watching your pennies. So, con number two is the cost of living in Bellevue. Con number three is traffic in Bellevue. It's pretty horrendous at times, you know, especially with those rush hour traffic times, of course. And, you know, it's the worst in downtown Bellevue, of course, but all parts of Bellevue do deal with it. You know, even in the residential areas, some of those main streets getting in and out of the residential areas do get backed up. But you know, I'm especially talking about the downtown area of Bellevue. It has a lot of construction going on right now. So a lot of high rises are in the process of being built, which is, you know, shutting down streets, shutting down lanes, which is only intensifying the traffic issues on any given day. So it's pretty bad downtown on those main streets like Northeast 8th, Northeast 4th, Main Street. You know, those are kind of the three worst offenders when it comes to traffic. But, and unfortunately, I think that issue will only get worse because of what I just mentioned, all of the high rises that are going up. There's going to be new condos that are, people are going to be living in those, which is only going to bring more people into the city, which is going to make the traffic a little bit worse. So, unfortunately, I don't think there's any kind of, any helping out in that department, with exception for the light rail that's coming in. There's going to be several stops in Bellevue that you can hop on the light rail, but, just in and around that downtown area, it's going to be pretty bad for the foreseeable future. And then, talking about a little bit outside of Bellevue. So Bellevue is, sits right on Interstate 405. When 405 coming southbound, when it hits Bellevue, it narrows down from 4 lanes down to 3 when it hits Bellevue, and you lose those toll lanes. So Bellevue is kind of a bottleneck for Interstate 405, which, if you're traveling northbound, it's okay. It's not too bad. But if you are traveling southbound, it's a nightmare. And it just, is always backed up right there as 405 gets into downtown Bellevue. And you can pretty much count on it being bad all day, every day, it seems. It's kind of rare when I drive through there and traffic isn't slowed down, at least going through downtown Bellevue. And that carries all the way into Renton. So that whole stretch there, kind of a nightmare in dealing with traffic. So if you do, commute down south or, coming up from Renton, even though you're going like 7 or 8 miles, it can take you like an hour and a half sometimes. So, traffic is pretty bad, and the reason for it being con number 3. Okay, con number 4 is the overcrowded schools in Bellevue. Bellevue has very, very highly rated schools. I think a lot of people know that by now. According to the popular website niche.com, they rank number 3 in being, having the highest and best rated public school systems in the nation. So yeah, number 3 in the nation. So that's huge. Really, really great for the city of Bellevue. But people know that, and that's where they want to send their kids. Right now, they have a student to teacher ratio of about 19-1, and unfortunately, that might grow a little bit because just recently, what's in the news right now is the Bellevue School Board has voted to shut down 2 of the elementary schools and consolidate them with neighboring schools. Their reasoning behind this is they say that enrollment for students is down by 2,000, and unfortunately, they're already overcrowded. So having a reduction is not really helping the issue, if you're going to be eliminating those schools. So still going to see those high student to teacher ratios, but still a highly rated school district, but tough to get into. And con number 4 is the overcrowded schools. Con number 5. All right, now this is the one that I'm saying that I don't hear anybody talk about, but to me, it was a big deal. I used to live downtown Bellevue, just north of Bellevue Square for a couple years. And, at the time I had a car that, I had to fill up with gas, and there are like very few gas stations in the downtown Bellevue area. There's one that's right off of Main Street downtown. Then there's like 3 or 4 others that are kind of on the fringe of downtown Bellevue. But the problem with that is that all of those gas stations are about 50 to 60 cents higher per gallon, just because of supply and demand in that small area that's so densely populated. So if you really want to, get a decent deal on filling up your gas tank. The closest area that you have to travel to is off of 140th in Bellevue, which is a few miles outside of downtown. There's a place in Kirkland that wasn't too bad. That was a few miles north up the road, but just a big inconvenience unless you're okay paying the 50 or 60 cents higher to have the convenience of a closer gas station. But just something that used to really bug me about that area when I lived there. Might not be a big deal if you're not living downtown Bellevue, but if you are living downtown Bellevue and you have a vehicle that you need to put gas in on a regular basis, then that could be kind of a pain in the butt. So coming from someone who dealt with it, it's just not a good time. But hey, more people have electric vehicles these days, so more people are commuting, or not commuting by car. They're taking mass transit or walking, especially if you're in downtown Bellevue. So might not be that big of a deal to you, but if you do, just be mindful that gas is kind of a pain point trying to find the gas stations where you're not just paying ridiculous amounts of money to fill up your gas tank. So that's con number 5, is just the lack of gas stations in the downtown area. Okay, so that wraps up our list of pros and cons for living in Bellevue, Washington. Is there anything on that list that I missed that you think people should know about? If so, drop them in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're thinking about moving to the Bellevue area or one of the other Seattle area suburbs, we'd love to have a conversation with you. I've lived here my whole life. I just want to be able to use my local knowledge of all of the surrounding areas to help you make the best choice and hopefully not make a mistake on which area you're going to be moving to. Usually in about a 5 or 10 minute conversation, I can let somebody know, yep, okay, this area is perfect for you, or no, you probably shouldn't consider that area. Let's look at over here. So just quick conversation. Whether you're moving next week, next year, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, schedule a Zoom call. We're happy to have that conversation with you and happy to help you make that smooth move to Seattle. So until next time, I hope to see you around town. Take care. Bye.